happy, very delighted to introduce to you Rob Diggy, a friend of mine and a colleague and somebody that does work for IMSTA. He's coming to us live from Chicago, from his home studio. The reason Rob's here is the music that you hear under most of the music for IMSTA, including our theme, uh, uh, including the little breaks that we have in between the videos, the openings for the videos that we do, and some of the music that you've heard on the trailers promoting the show are done by Rob. So Rob, you there?
Yes, I am. How you
Can
doing,
you
Ray?
hear me? Everything is good.
Yes, everything is good. Everything's good.
So Rob, man, we've been working together now for a little bit, and you've been putting together some pretty nice scores, some pretty nice music for some of the small videos we're doing, and we got some long forms that we want you to do, and we really want to sort of get you in here because I think a lot of people can learn from you as to how to apply their musical skill again outside of the traditional, sort of pop R&B kind of, write a song and get a hit kind of approach. So I want to sort of address how you approach scoring, how you got to where you are,
Yeah.
what kind of tools you use, and so on. So let's start in the beginning. How did you get into film scoring?
I stumbled across film scoring, walking into a studio that they were already doing film, and this was a building for production. So they had music production in one room, and so on. So this one room they were doing the film. They were scoring. I mean, they were filming post production. And so I walked past them. They were my friends, so I would always walk past the room. So I says, "Hey, I walked in and saw the clip because we were always in each other's rooms anyway.
Mhm.
Saw the clip and said, 'Oh, I can score that.'" And he says, "For real?" I said, "Yeah." And so he says, "Well, bring your keyboard in and let's see what you can do." And that was in a 96, I believe.
Mhm.
And walked in and set the piano up. And it was a fight scene. The guys were fighting and somebody's going to get shot or whatever. And I was able to do some action stuff on a keyboard, a chord keyboard at the time that only like, I think an M1 or something like that.
Mhm.
And whoa, I went back later on and we finished it and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And that was my first film. It's actually online now on the streamers.
What's the name of the film, man? For
Uh,
people who are out here.
it's called Trust, Trust. We had a couple titles, Backstabbers,
Mm-hmm.
but Michael Jackson and his crew, Manhattan, EMI Manhattan, wouldn't allow the licensing for the song. So Backstabbers by the OJs.
Yeah,
Michael
of
Jackson
course.
owned
Yeah,
it.
of course.
And so we wound up doing our own song, and now it's called Trust. So it's a low budget film, but I was glad I got the opportunity to learn how to score. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured I could try, and they loved it. And that was the start of me scoring. Plus, I used to watch a lot of films as a kid and just go, wow, that music sounds great, So that was the start of it.
So by virtue of that, you became a film scorer. By scoring a film, you're a film scorer.
I became a composer, but the downside of it was to be told at 14 that I wasn't going to be in my band director's band.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be in my band. You're not going to ever play in my band. And I was just trying to try out for guitar because the guy that was playing was so super good at 14. I'm like, man, I want to be like him when I grow up. And he was so super good at it. The guy told me I couldn't play. He wouldn't allow me to play in his band. So I went to high school and didn't want to go to this particular high school. But the guy says, hey, the counselor says, well, hey, join the beginner's band. So I picked up trombone. All the guys in the neighborhood were sections. They were already sections. So he said, hey, man, you get in the band. We got you. Played trombone. By September to December, January, I was already in advanced band for horn, being a freshman. And third chair, of course, and I was third chair throughout. My high school band director, Delano, will tell you, O'Banion will tell you right now, I played third chair. I did, but I was a great third chair because I had a great ear and I had a good arranger's ear, and I could hear a lot of what the other guys didn't hear or couldn't hear. So that's why I was able to get my scholarship.
So music has always been in your life. even as a child, even in school? Yeah.
Family.
Hmm.
Growing up, my uncles had a band, and we would get the instruments, and
Hmm.
we would go in the front when they finished playing, and we would play with the instruments, and we just picked it up. It was just something that we picked up. I started playing guitar at 10, 9 or 10 years old, and
Hmm.
my cousin that was just a year older than I was taught me guitar. And
Hmm.
so, but he became a drummer. He got a scholarship to the school I went to too, UAPB.
Hmm.
We both got scholarships. I went before him and he went after, but he taught me guitar, and that's it. That's how I learned.
So now, after you first scored this film with the M1, the Korg M1, how did you develop more confidence, per se, to believe that you could score? I mean, because the first thing the first step of doing anything is, of course, believing you can actually do it. So, how did you build that confidence up to believe inside that you can actually score going forward?
Great question. Well, having ragtag equipment, I'm just going to say that, not ragtag, but I had professional grade equipment, but I had to learn how to use what I had. So if I had one rack mount piece, maybe a Proteus or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to use that to my advantage. So I remember, right quick, I want to say this, right years ago, I went in the studio with Tom Washington. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tom Washington. He's a great arranger, Earth, Wind and Fire, Phil
Mm-hmm.
Collins. Um, he arranged some strings for me. He said, I didn't need to do much. He said, you did all the work. And I did it on the Proteus. So
Mm-hmm.
one piece, and I heard Serge talking earlier, you don't have to have a lot you just got to know your equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that said, I was able to grab hold to, back in the day, we had VCRs. So I was able to use a VCR and watch the film, mark it with the remote, and say, okay, when he says shoot him, start the music. And that was
Right.
my cue. So I would get all those notes to the director or the editor, and he locked them in. And lo and behold, everything came out just like I had it. But
Mm-hmm.
I was using the MPC at the time. That wasn't time coded in terms of
Yeah.
with their stuff. So I had a rocky beginning, but I knew that it was a combination. I had to kind of figure out if I could figure out how to get this piece to work with this piece and keep going. I was moving, and I learned because I bought different equipment, different sequencers, till I finally at '04 got a Mac.
Okay, so tell me about how you're doing it now. So right now you we give you the picture, we give you a video. It just has dialogue. What are you using? What tools are you using right now to score with?
Well, once the picture is in place on my DAW, I'm able to select what I think might work sound wise. It's almost like you rolling the dice and saying, I think I'm going to use this one. So, and then it depends on the the dialogue or the action of the film. How does it open up? Normally, I ask the directors, do they want an opening theme song? Sometimes they may have somebody already with a soundtrack, so that's a little different than the score, of course. But I'm able to open up Contact. I've been using Contact for years. I started with 8, or is it Complete 8? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at it the other day. I was like, well, should I hold on to this or should I get rid of it? So I put it away after consulting some people on Facebook to say, no, hold on to it. It may come in handy at some point. But I'm opening up these libraries and I'm listening to all these beautiful sounds and going, that's what I want to use. That sound there. And just from there, just keep going. They have a bass guitar that I like, a Scarby bass and some other things. And that Scarby bass gets me a lot of stuff when I'm doing like my jazz, things like that. So it totally works. I love it.
Okay, so when how do you what do you do? What do you do? How do you start? Because that's the first question. I'm looking at something in the chat here. How do you start? Like you just have the film. There's no music there. What key? What tempo? What instrument?
Right.
What? I mean, I imagine it's different every time, but give us some kind of sense as to.
My process is pretty much the same. I normally set the tempo first because I want to know where I'm riding throughout the film. Now, the tricky part is as I going online and seeing how other composers, do their thing. Well, you're going to set your tempo. If your tempo is 120 in the beginning, and it may have to slow down or speed up. How do you do that? There's a tempo map in the DAW. I use Logic. Is it okay?
Yeah.
I use that. And once that's set, then I'm saying, okay, I got my tempo. Now I may want to do a score that's at that tempo, at a 60, at a 120, or whatever it is. I'm feeling good about it, but maybe I want to change out later because, hey, I need to speed it up or slow it down. What do I do? I normally, and I've heard composers do this, they switch out templates, which is cool for me. I switch out the template, throw the film back in that template, compose from there, then, switch out and go back to the original tempo. I mean, the template, which works for me. And I'm able to feel good about now not having to change my tempo at some point,
Right.
keeping it at the same tempo I started with. But once the film is, you say key, now I figure out what key. I'm like Hans Zimmer. I use a lot of keys in D. He uses if you listen to Dark Knight, it's key of D. I listen to a lot of Brian Tyler from Fast and Furious. I haven't had a chance to meet him, but I did talk with Danny about some stuff as well, Danny Elfman. But having to be able to figure out your key, what's comfortable for me key wise. Okay, I like the key of B minor is good for me. I love B minor. Great key, black keys. I'm a black key person, Right. And so if I have to transpose, I will transpose. I have no problem hitting that button at all. I'm a great piano. I think I'm an okay piano player, but I do transpose a lot because I want to make sure I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. Plus, you got work time. You got people, with projects and they want their stuff. So, okay, if I'm struggling in the G or C, I'm like, nah, these white keys are killing me. Let me switch out and transpose and keep it moving.
Right.
And so it's just a process of keeping the client happy because at the end of the day, that's their baby and it's my baby as well. So I want to approach every project, with the same type of, good grace or whatever. Here's the deal. And having characters, and I don't know if anybody's in the chat talking about this, but characters, you're talking about maybe 5 characters. Let's use the Avengers, Captain America and so forth, right? Captain has a thing, Iron Man has a thing, Hulk has a thing, so and so on. So whenever you see these characters, now you have to create that theme is going to come up. Thor was most memorable for me, because he continuously drilled it into the audience's head with this theme, whatever it was, and he kept you going with that. And so every time Thor got into a tiff or whatever, you heard his theme. It was a down tempo theme. It was an up tempo theme. So you want to make sure that you keep the audience right at you, because when you're scoring, okay, I remember that. It may be just a small little piano or something. I remember that sound. Yeah, he went back to that. So composers don't have to do a whole super lot of work. Just have your themes in place and just interchange throughout the film at some point, if you want to do that. I've been doing that as well.
Okay, so now you are, you've done a bunch of films, and what is your go-to sort of package out there for scoring?
My go-to?
Your go-to software as far as your sound tools and so on. What's the go-to package?
Well, I have a bunch of tools, and it's okay. I mean, I use a lot of Spectrasonics. I use a lot of Contact, because they've just come out with a bunch of new stuff, and I try to stay on top of what they offer to use. Now, there's a new program that they just came out with called Glaze. It's a hip hop program, and oh my God, I use Glaze, as a matter of fact, inside the interviews. And man, this is this one lady, and she's just doing these ahs and oohs and stuff. So anybody listening, if you don't have Glaze, definitely pick up Glaze. I have a super arsenal of equipment, and I'm steady buying. I know Sergio talked about buying stuff and learning your equipment, but for me, I'm in a situation where somebody may come with the next Captain America movie, and I may not have that drone sound I'm looking for. I gotta get the next best thing. I have to keep it moving. And I normally go back a lot and say, okay, I didn't use this week. I'm going to use this one. Even in my R&B songs and trap I write, for Big City Loops. I'm with Big City Loops, and I get my loops out there like that, and that's how I'm able to sustain when I'm not filming, making money and doing
Right.
loops. But
Yeah.
just able to have the type of arsenal available, because you never know what type of movie. You may even call and say, hey, Rob, I got this movie and it's going to do this and do that. Okay, I know right away I need A, B, and C. Just like you call and you say, well, hey, I got this opening. You let me hear the opening, and I was able to say, well, say less, because I knew exactly what you wanted. You wanted a more of a bigger theme than what was presented.
Okay. Let's talk about the opening, because you did the opening for us. Mm-hmm. That little theme that is at the beginning, I believe it's like 4-5 seconds worth of. Yeah. What did you use for that?
I used a lot of contact, some rolling stuff, and I didn't really mix it. I just kind of put some EQ on it with Logic and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Do you have it there you could play for the audience so they could hear?
I think I can. I
just want them to be aware of what we're talking about here, because I thought, and you did this. I'm going to say to the audience, Rob did this overnight. He did this in one night.
Well, I thought about what I had to do. I mean, that 5 seconds was, that 5 seconds took.
It took a long time, I'm sure, but he did it overnight.
Well, 5 seconds is I'm looking at the clip and going, okay, well, I got you. So I think this is too loud for me to play now. So I'm going to turn this all down before I get in trouble. I was told yesterday, do not take this stuff up. And it was fun. I did about three or four, I believe. And
you did at least 4 of them.
Yeah, and I think you said, no, I like number 2 better. And I'm like, okay, well, I got you. So let me just turn this. I'm sorry about the time, but I'm done. I got two more to do. I should have grouped them and did them all at the same time. But
okay, that's fine.
Here we go. All right, ready?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's yeah. I just want everybody to know that was you could hear it on all of the intros to all the IMSTA videos is Rob's, and he did them fast. He did 4 of them, and so for doing something which is basically a stinger like that,
that's a stinger.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some percussiveness. You have to have some orchestral things sometimes. I mean, how long is how many tracks are we talking about? How do you approach that?
I think I use about almost 20 tracks from what I think. Just about 18, 20 tracks. And they were just little things that happened. Sometimes I like to double my sounds. So you may hear sound that sounds similar, but not the same. Watch this. I believe that's out of the arsenal for native instruments.
Yeah. So, anyway, you did such a great job, but you worked very fast. Now, how important is it in the film scoring business? And I want you to talk to all these people out here to be able to deliver on time.
When you have a deadline, these people are not waiting. They want their projects when they want them. I pray for delays sometimes because things happen, and a lot of times it's based on the editor. The editors can lock down a film and be like, I'm not giving you nothing, so, but what I try to do in a timely manner is to, if they say, well, how long do you think it's going to take you? 3 months on the feature. Well, I know it's not going to take me 3 months, but I just give them that window. And so but I may get it back to them in a month and a half or less, because I'm always stacked with something else to do. So I can do a feature in about a month and a half and get it back to them. But that's the challenge of making sure that you're on point and a time, because they call you back. People call you back. I have directors that won't use any other composers. I'm like, get somebody else. But they love working with me, and I love working with them. I'm a very easygoing guy when it comes to recording and scoring. I have no problem. I just enjoy what I do. I sit here and I just have fun doing it. And I can't wait for your future projects to be able to sit back. I've done some research already, so I know what I'm getting myself into. and just be able to just go for it.
Now, I mean, how important do you think your sort of ability to play by ear, the training you had from your older cousin who was 1 year older, you said?
Yeah.
How much of that musical sort of development that you had at such a young age do you think helps you today?
It helped me a lot because it transcended over to high school. You know, right after high school, I went to college on a scholarship playing trombone. So all of that earlier knowledge that I had, I just used that, like you say, my ear. I had a great ear, and I had to learn how to read. So I was playing guitar in a jazz band, reading as a freshman, not knowing a whole lot about it, but I taught myself how to read because I bought books, and I used to work at Carl Fisher. You remember Carl Fisher Music back in the day?
Yeah, yeah.
That was my first job out of college, and I couldn't find a job in television and radio in my major communication. So I went to Carl Fisher, and I used to grab all their books, all the guitar books. I have books in here now. So I would learn how to develop my reading skills. And then I got with a guy in college that taught me theory. Well, he said, drop your applied class. I got you. So I dropped my applied class, and he was able to show me all the ropes. And so some of the things he's taught me, I use today, theory wise on piano, you know, and then like with some of your DAWs, you have the chords. They show you the chords. They show you what you're playing. So for musicians now, it shouldn't be an issue for somebody to be playing and say, well, what key you in, or what chord are you playing? Because it's right there in front of you. You know,
how important is it for people that want to get into scoring? How important is it to learn music, like to learn music theory?
Well, Ray, these days you don't have to know theory because everything is one-shotters and things like that. But you know, if you let me reverse that and not talk about scoring, so to speak, but because there are like no right or wrong notes when you score. You know, you can play a wrong note and it sounds good along with the piece. Here's the deal. Mostly with vocalists, you're working with a vocalist, and I think as a piano player myself, the person that's producing should know some theory, or at least where you're going chord wise. You know, that's a better example, because when a lot of now these cats now are getting their beats offline and saying, oh, I'm a producer. No, you're not. Stop it. So you have to be able to know when you got a vocalist in your studio that if you're going to play that A flat minor, give them the A flat minor to a B flat minor, whatever it is, to F sharp or whatever it is. So I know now. I didn't know at first, but I know even on guitar, I can go there and say, okay, this is this chord, this is that chord. But theory I think is very important. But like I say, nowadays, and then you got your phones, so they can go and look up theory on their phones. There are tons of ways that these kids can do this. They want the lazy way out, and that's hitting a button or going to YouTube and downloading. Hey, that's a great beat. Where you get it from? Oh, I downloaded it.
But to be a serious film composer, it certainly doesn't hurt to know a little bit about music and music theory.
You need to know theory. You need to know some forms of theory. I'm not the best at it, but I went to Bulgaria. They flew me to some guys in Dubai. I was living in Dubai, and they flew me to Bulgaria to work on a score. And I had a week, and we sent the score, you know, ahead of time. And by the time that they got the score, but that Monday, that Friday, we were there, and they were already ready for us. I'm like, wow. So all the copyists, the transcribers, everybody was there. They had me go over the score and look at the melodies. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Okay, we need to change this note because it'll feel much better. Okay, fine. Whatever you think that'll work. Let's try it. And so the orchestra came in, and I think they did like three rehearsal takes, and bam, they hit. And when they hit, they were out, you know, and it was crazy how fast they hit. And to hear my music played by the orchestra, the Sophia Session Orchestra was amazing. They were just so amazing, and they went through it just like that. So yes, theory. And I'm looking at sheets of paper, you know, the sheet music and things like that. So my mom asked me, or my uncle asked me, well, how do you know what you're looking at, and what are you following? I'm like, well, I'm following the melody. I'm following the melody of what was the lead line in that song. So I know the melody because I played it. So I'm able to go ba da 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 do do da da. I'm able to follow that. right away. And then, they did, and Logic, they have a score composer thing. You can just look at it and see what you played. Now, if you're going to be, oblivious to not learning, that part of it, you got a long ways to go. So like I said, I study as much as I can. I'm not the super best at it, but I've learned enough to now get phone calls from all over the world, including where you are.
That's awesome, man. No, you're very talented. We are so impressed with what you've been able to do for us in such a short time. It's been so great working with you.
Yes, thank you.
You deliver on time, and the quality of work is really exceptional. Now, looking back on what you've been able to achieve so far, and looking forward, what's next for you? What do you also try to work on like your sound game, like how to mix, how to do stuff for yourself as much as possible? I mean, is that an element that you as a film composer put any sort of work into?
That's a weakness for mine. I'll just say it. I do mix, but I try not to mix other people's like records. I send them out. I have a friend of mine, it's a Grammy winner out of LA that worked on Jennifer Hudson's records. Earl Powell's a good friend of mine. I send my stuff to him because he knows much more about mixing and things like that. So it doesn't hurt to have another ear, as well as I play guitar and as great as I play guitar, I would love to have another guitar player. Hey man, let me send this to you. You knock it out because I'm busy, and that's what it has been. With your stuff we were doing for you, before the conversation we had about the music parts I said, well, how am I gonna get all this stuff done? And so I found myself in a groove, and I'm opening up contact going, okay, let's just go with it. Just go with the flow, and then just pull things in and out as we go. And that worked, so, but having the ear, I'm not, like I said, I'm not the best at it, but I try to get it done the best of my ability. Now my films, out the box, this stuff sounds great. A lot of things sound great out the box, and you just want to maybe sprinkle it a little bit with what you like. And I was able to go to a 5.1 surround sound setting in a theater, and my God, I was like, did I do this? And I did it from home. So I'm on point, but sometimes I'm off. And but the disadvantage is that a lot of movies I've done don't use 5.1. Right. They don't use it. And I was able to mix in Dolby Atmos, and that's the best in the world class.
Yeah. But your concentration and your focus is on your strength, which is composing. One last question from the chat. We only have about a little over a minute. Rob, what is your favorite composer? Who are your favorite composers?
Oh God, Danny Elfman, but he's not one.
Danny Elfman,
Terrence Blanchard. Watch Inside Man with Terrence Blanchard. Anything that Brian Tyler has laid his hands on. Brian Tyler is king when it comes to scoring. I've learned so much from him. We're even on the same site. I was the first African American on one of the pages for computer music, and he was on there too. And I shared our pictures together. He was like, he gave me a thumbs up, and I'm like, wow, that's great. So Brian is number one in my book all day.
Thank you so much, man. We're all out of time. Do you use Logic 5.1? Yes or no?
No. I sent it out.
You sent it out. All right. So thank you, brother. Thank you so much for all your work. It was not enough time. I could have spoken to you for a couple more hours.
Kept going.
but keep up the good work, and we'll send you some more stuff to score.
Hey, let's do it.
All right.
I look forward.